Starving alien mother leaves baby at a human's door. But he does the unthinkable. The night was quiet in the forest. Too quiet. John Miller sat in his old wooden chair on the porch of his cabin, looking up at the stars. He lived alone, far from the city lights. That's how he liked it. No noise, no people, just peace. Suddenly, a bright light flashed across the sky. It wasn't a shooting star. It moved too strangely, zigzagging between the clouds. John stood up, his eyes wide. The light grew bigger, brighter, then disappeared behind the trees with a distant crash. What the hell was that? John whispered to himself. He grabbed his flashlight and jacket, thinking about checking it out, but something told him to wait. Good thing he did. 20 minutes later, John heard strange noises outside his cabin door. Not animal noises, something different. It sounded like weak scratching and a soft, strange cry that made the hair on his arms stand up. "Who's there?" John called out, grabbing his old baseball bat from beside the door. No answer came, just more of that strange sound. Taking a deep breath, John opened the door slowly, bat raised. What he saw made him drop the bat with a thud. There on his doorstep was a creature that couldn't possibly be from Earth. It looked almost human, but with blue-tinted skin that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. Its eyes were large, completely black, and filled with fear. Long, thin fingers reached out toward him. The creature wore torn clothes made of a material John had never seen before. But that wasn't what shocked John the most. In the creature's arms was a small bundle, a baby. A tiny alien baby with the same blue skin, wrapped in shimmering cloth. The alien mother, John was sure it was female, looked up at him with those huge black eyes. She was clearly exhausted. Her body trembled, and dark blue marks under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept in days. She looked starved. "Oh my God," John whispered. The alien mother made a sound, something between a whimper and a word. She held out her baby toward John with shaking arms. Her meaning was clear in any language. "Help us." As John stood frozen in shock, the mother collapsed forward. He caught her just before she hit the ground. The baby squeezed between them. The little one made a soft chirping sound. Hey, stay with me," John said, though he knew she couldn't understand. He looked around nervously. His cabin was isolated, but if anyone saw these creatures. Making the quick decision, John carefully picked up both aliens and carried them inside, kicking the door closed behind him. The mother was surprisingly light, like she had hollow bones. The baby couldn't have weighed more than a few pounds. He placed the mother gently on his couch. Her breathing was shallow, her blue skin now pale gray. The baby squirmed in its wrappings, making those strange chirping sounds again. "What do I do?" John asked himself, running his hands through his hair. "What do I feed them? What do they need?" The alien mother's eyes fluttered open. She looked at John, then at her baby with such worry that it broke his heart. Some things were universal. A mother's love for her child was clearly one of them. John jolted awake from his uncomfortable position in the armchair. For a moment, he wondered if the whole thing had been a strange dream. Then he heard the soft chirping sound again and remembered. Aliens in his cabin. Real aliens. The lights from unknown vehicles had appeared in the distance last night, searchlights sweeping the forest. Acting on instinct, John had quickly moved the alien mother and her baby down to his basement. It wasn't much, but it was safer than leaving them in plain sight. Now morning light streamed through the small basement windows as John carefully made his way down the stairs with a tray of water and various foods. He had no idea what aliens ate, but he had to try something. The mother was awake, sitting up against the wall. Her large black eyes followed John's every move. She held her baby close, protective, but no longer threatening. She looked slightly better than yesterday, but still dangerously weak. "Hi there," John said softly, setting the tray down. "I'm John." He pointed to himself. "John." The alien mother stared at him for a long moment, then raised one 6-fingered hand to her chest. "Mia," she said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "Mia," John repeated, smiling. "And the little one?" Mia looked down at her baby with such tenderness that John felt his throat tighten. "Loon," she said softly. John pointed to the tray. "Food. Water." He picked up a glass of water and took a small sip to demonstrate, then offered it to her. Mia took the glass carefully and sniffed it. She took a tiny sip, then nodded and drank more. Water, it seemed, was universal. But when John offered bread, fruit, and some leftover chicken, Mia shook her head. She pointed to her mouth, then to baby Loon, and made a sad gesture. John understood. They couldn't eat his food. "What do you eat?" John asked, knowing she wouldn't understand his words but hoping his tone would convey the question. Mia seemed to think for a moment. Then she reached into a small pouch attached to her strange clothing and pulled out something that looked like a flat, smooth stone. She pressed it, and suddenly the basement was filled with a three-dimensional holographic image. John gasped and stepped back. The image showed a beautiful world with purple skies and floating cities. Mia pointed to plants with glowing blue fruits, then made an eating motion. "That's your home?" John asked in wonder. Mia's face changed, showing deep sadness. The hologram shifted to show the same world, but now cities were burning. Strange ships filled the sky. Creatures, different from Mia's kind, were attacking. "You're refugees," John whispered. "You're running away." The hologram changed again to show Mia's ship, small and damaged, crashing on Earth. Then it disappeared. John sat down heavily on the floor. "I want to help you, but I don't know how to feed you." Baby Loon made a weak chirping sound. The poor thing was starving. "Wait here," John said, standing up. "I'll be back." He spent the next few hours on his computer, searching every conspiracy theory website and forum about aliens he could find. Most was nonsense, but a few posts from someone claiming to be an ex-government scientist caught his attention. They described alien biology that required mineral compounds rather than organic matter for sustenance, specifically rare earth elements combined with certain crystalline structures. It was a long shot, but John had an old rock collection from his geology days. He brought it down to the basement along with a mortar and pestle. "I don't know if this will work," he told Mia, grinding different minerals into powder and mixing them with water. Mia watched him curiously. When he offered the first mixture, she smelled it and shook her head. The second and third attempts got the same response. But at the fourth mixture, containing crushed quartz and a piece of meteorite John had bought at a science fair years ago, Mia's eyes widened. She took it and drank eagerly. Relief washed over John. He quickly made more, and Mia fed some to baby Loon. The little alien's chirps grew stronger. As days passed, John continued to experiment with different mineral combinations. Mia grew stronger, and so did Loon. They developed a simple way to communicate through drawings and gestures. John learned that Mia's species was peaceful and advanced. They had been attacked by a warrior race that wanted their technology and resources. One evening, as John returned from town with more supplies, he noticed a black SUV driving slowly past his cabin. He ducked inside quickly. When he checked through the window, he saw the vehicle had stopped down the road. "They're looking for you," he told Mia when he went to the basement. "I don't know who they are, government, military, or worse, but they're searching." Mia nodded, understanding his concern. She reached into her pouch again and pulled out something John hadn't seen before, a small device with blinking lights. "What's that?" John asked. Through gestures and drawings, Mia explained it was a transmitter. She could call for help from others of her kind who had escaped to a safe place, but activating it might also alert those hunting her. "Is it worth the risk?" John asked. Mia looked at baby Loon, who was playing with a small crystal John had given him. The baby's chirps were happy now, his blue skin glowing with health. Mia then pointed to the ceiling, in the direction where the suspicious vehicle had been. John understood her dilemma. Stay hidden and safe for now, but without help. Or risk everything by sending a signal that might bring rescue or doom. Mia's finger hovered over the transmitter button. Their eyes met, and in that moment, John realized just how much trust this alien mother had placed in a strange human from a strange world. Whatever decision she made, he would stand by her side. The transmitter glowed brighter as Mia's finger trembled above it. In the end, Mia decided not to press the transmitter button. Not yet. The risk was too great with those strange vehicles patrolling nearby. John nodded his agreement. Better to wait and stay safe. Over the next few days, John perfected the mineral mixture for Mia and baby Loon. He crushed different crystals and rocks, combining them with water and tiny amounts of metal powders. When he found just the right combination, quartz, meteorite dust, copper, and a strange blue crystal from his collection, both aliens seemed to gain strength quickly. "This is working," John said with a smile as he watched Loon drink the glittering liquid. The baby alien's skin now glowed a healthy bright blue, and his chirps were stronger and happier. Mia touched John's arm in gratitude. Then she did something unexpected. She placed her six-fingered hand gently on his forehead. Suddenly, John's mind filled with images. He saw Mia's homeworld, beautiful and peaceful. He saw her family, her house with its strange curved walls, and her job as what seemed like a scientist or doctor. "You're showing me your memories," John gasped when the connection broke. Mia nodded. She pointed to her head, then to John's, and made a connecting gesture with her hands. "Telepathy," John whispered. "You can share thoughts." The next image she sent to his mind was darker, the invasion of her world. Frightening aliens with rough, scaly skin and sharp teeth attacking her city. Mia running with baby Loon, her mate pushing them onto a small escape ship. The last glimpse of her mate fighting to give them time to escape. John felt tears in his eyes when the connection ended. "I'm so sorry," he said softly. Mia's large black eyes shimmered with what must have been tears of her own. But she straightened up and gently touched baby Loon, who was playing with some small crystals John had given him. The message was clear. She had to be strong for her child. John was about to reply when he heard a car approaching outside. He quickly put his finger to his lips, signaling for silence, and crept upstairs to peek through the window. A black government SUV had parked in front of his cabin. A man in a dark suit stepped out, adjusting his sunglasses despite the cloudy day. He looked exactly like the agents in movies about alien cover-ups. "Stay quiet," John whispered as he went to answer the knock at his door. "Good afternoon, sir," the agent said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Agent Thompson, Department of Special Scientific Research." He flashed a badge too quickly for John to read it properly. "What can I do for you?" John asked, trying to sound calm. "We're investigating reports of unusual aerial phenomena in this area 3 nights ago. Did you happen to notice anything strange? Lights in the sky? Unusual sounds?" John shook his head. "Sorry, I was probably asleep. I turn in early out here." Agent Thompson's eyes narrowed slightly. "Mind if I come in and ask a few more questions? Standard procedure." "Actually, I was just heading out," John lied. "Got to get to town before the hardware store closes." "This won't take long," the agent insisted, his foot already moving toward the doorway. John was about to protest when a crash came from inside the house. Something had fallen in the kitchen. Agent Thompson's hand moved to his side, where John could now see the outline of a gun under his jacket. "What was that?" "Just my cat," John said quickly. "He knocks things over all the time." The agent stared at him for a long moment. "I wasn't aware you had a cat, Mr. Miller. Our records show you live alone." John's blood ran cold. How did they know his name? How did they have records on him? "Got him recently," John said. "Stray that wandered up. You know how it is out here in the woods." Agent Thompson didn't look convinced. "I'd like to see this cat of yours." Before John could answer, something even more terrifying happened. Baby Loon's chirping sound came clearly from the basement, followed by what sounded like Mia trying to quiet him. The agent's eyes widened. That doesn't sound like any cat I've ever heard. He pushed past John into the house, his hand now pulling out his gun. John's mind raced. He had to protect Mia and Loon, but what could he do against an armed government agent? Just as Agent Thompson turned toward the basement door, all the lights in the cabin suddenly went out. Even the agent's flashlight flickered and died. The room plunged into complete darkness. What the agent started. Then a soft blue glow filled the room. Baby Loon floated up the basement stairs, his tiny body glowing brightly. His black eyes seemed to stare directly at Agent Thompson. The agent raised his gun with a shaking hand. "No," John shouted, lunging forward. But before anything terrible could happen, Loon made a sound unlike any John had heard before. A high, crystal-clear note that seemed to penetrate his very bones. The agent froze in place, his eyes wide and unfocused. Mia appeared behind her floating child, looking both terrified and determined. She quickly touched the agent's forehead the same way she had touched John's. The agent's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed to the floor. "Did you kill him?" John asked in horror. Mia shook her head firmly. She pointed to the agent's head and made a wiping motion, then a sleeping gesture. "You erased his memory and put him to sleep," John guessed. Mia nodded, but her face showed worry. She pointed outside, then at the agent, then held up 3 fingers. "3 more are coming," John translated. She nodded again, then grabbed John's hand urgently and placed it on Loon's small head. Immediately, John's mind filled with a clear message: danger coming. Must leave now. John understood. The agent would be missed. Others would come looking for him. Their safe hiding place had been compromised. "We need to go," John said. "Pack what you need. I have a car hidden in the shed out back." As Mia gathered their few belongings, John looked down at the unconscious agent. The man would wake up eventually, with no memory of what he'd seen, but his colleagues would find him, and they would search the cabin thoroughly. Meanwhile, Baby Loon continued to glow, floating gently back to his mother's arms. John now realized the transmitter in Mia's pouch was also glowing. It had activated on its own. The signal was out. For better or worse, someone out there now knew exactly where they were. John drove his old truck through the dark forest roads with Mia and Baby Loon hidden under blankets in the back seat. The headlights were off, making the drive dangerous, but less noticeable. Every few minutes, John checked the rearview mirror for following cars. "We'll be okay," he said, though he wasn't sure Mia understood his words. The tone of his voice was what mattered. They had left just in time. As they drove away through the back trails, 3 more black SUVs had arrived at his cabin. John had watched from a distance as men in suits and others in what looked like hazmat gear entered his home. His quiet life in the woods was now over. "Where should we go?" John asked, mostly to himself. Mia sat up from under the blankets and pointed to the sky, then made a circular motion with her finger. "You need an open area," John guessed. "For a ship to land." Mia nodded, her black eyes reflecting the moonlight. John thought for a moment. "I know a place, an old field about 20 miles from here. My grandfather used to own it." As they drove, Baby Loon began to glow again, brighter than before. The light was hard to hide. John turned onto even smaller dirt roads, hoping to avoid any other cars. "Your baby is special, isn't he?" John asked Mia. "Not just a regular child of your kind." Mia placed her hand on John's forehead again, sending him images. He saw Loon's birth during the invasion, how the stress and energy of the attack had somehow changed the baby. Loon was the first of their kind to show such abilities so young. He was important, not just to Mia, but to the future of their entire species. John nodded in understanding. "That's why they're hunting you so hard. It's not just about finding aliens. It's about finding him specifically." Suddenly, bright lights appeared in the sky ahead of them. Not stars or planes. These moved with purpose and intelligence. At the same time, John spotted headlights behind them on the road. "We're caught between them," John said, speeding up. "We have to reach the field." The old truck bounced violently on the rough road. The lights in the sky grew larger, descending toward Earth. Behind them, the government vehicles were gaining. John crashed through an old wooden gate and into the overgrown field. He stopped the truck in the center and turned to Mia. "Is it your people or the ones hunting you?" he asked urgently, pointing to the lights. Mia stared at the approaching craft, her expression a mix of hope and fear. She honestly didn't know. The transmitter in her pouch was now pulsing with light. Baby loon began to chirp loudly, floating up from Mia's arms toward the roof of the truck. "Get down," John shouted as bright spotlights from behind illuminated the vehicle. Government agents had arrived. "Exit the vehicle with your hands up," a voice commanded through a loudspeaker. At the same time, the craft from the sky descended to about 50 feet above them. It was sleek and silver, not like any human aircraft. A beam of blue light shot down from its center. Mia grabbed John's hand and squeezed it. Then she made a decision. She opened the truck door and stepped out, holding Loon tightly. "No," John yelled, getting out and rushing to her side. "It's too dangerous." Government agents were approaching from one side, guns drawn. From above, the alien craft hovered menacingly. Then a second light appeared in the sky, this one moving much faster. It crashed into the first craft, sending it spinning. The new arrival was smaller but quicker. It fired something at the larger ship, causing explosions of green light. "Friends of yours?" John asked Mia. Her face lit up with joy. She recognized the second ship. It was her people, coming to rescue them. The government agents began firing at both ships. John pulled Mia and Loon behind the truck for cover. A stray bullet hit John in the shoulder, making him cry out in pain. "Go," he told Mia as he pressed his hand to his bleeding wound. "Your people are here. Take Loon and go." The smaller ship had now landed about 50 yards away. A door opened, revealing aliens similar to Mia, beckoning urgently. Mia looked at John, then at her waiting people, torn between escape and helping the human who had saved them. "Please," John said. "I'll be okay. They need you. Loon needs to be safe." With tears in her eyes, Mia made her decision. But it wasn't what John expected. Instead of running to the ship, she placed baby Loon in John's good arm. "What are you doing?" John asked in confusion. Mia placed her hand on John's forehead one last time. The message was clear. Hold him for a moment. Trust me. Then she walked a few steps away and raised her arms toward the sky. The larger enemy ship had recovered and was now firing at the rescue craft. Mia's body began to glow with the same blue light as Loon. Suddenly, a wave of energy burst from her, expanding outward like a giant bubble. When it touched the government agents, they froze in place. When it reached the enemy ship, the craft's lights flickered and went dark. It crashed to the ground at the edge of the field. The effort clearly drained Mia. She collapsed to her knees, her blue skin turning pale gray again. John carried Loon to her side. "What did you do?" Before she could answer, more black SUVs arrived at the field's edge. They didn't have much time. Mia stood weakly and took baby Loon back in her arms. She reached into her pouch and pulled out a small crystal, pressing it into John's hand. Then she touched his wounded shoulder. The pain immediately vanished, and John could feel the wound closing. "You're healing me," he whispered in amazement. Mia nodded, then pointed to the crystal in his hand and made a gesture like a phone call. "It's a communicator," John realized, "so we can stay in touch." Mia nodded again, smiling sadly. It was time to say goodbye. The agents were beginning to move again as the energy wave wore off. Mia and John ran to the waiting rescue ship. At the doorway, Mia embraced John tightly. Baby Loon squeezed between them. "Thank you for saving us," came the clear thought in John's mind. "My people will remember what one human did for us. We will return." Then she pressed one final object into John's hand, a small data device. "For your people," she explained mentally. "Technology to help grow food in any condition. No more hunger on your world. Our gift to humanity." With that, she stepped onto the ship. The door closed, and seconds later, the craft shot up into the night sky. John stood watching until the ship disappeared among the stars. When the government agents surrounded him, guns raised, he didn't resist. "You're too late," he told them calmly, the data device hidden safely in his pocket. "But don't worry, they'll be back someday. And they're bringing friends." As the agents led him away, John smiled up at the stars. Sometimes the most human thing to do was to help those who weren't human at all.